but the Cincinnati Bengals have got a ton of work to do this offseason with their own guys. And they've kind of been using Super Bowl media week as an opportunity to kind of make their case, specifically Joe Burrow and Trey Hendrickson. Now, Joe Burrow has said multiple times, he's been saying it in post-game pressers, he said it during the Pro Bowl, and now he said it again this week, that he is going to help them keep T. He is going to help them keep Jamar. He's going to help them keep Trey. And most recently, he added Mike Gesicki. So I forget which podcast it was on. So I apologize for that. But he said, we need to extend Jamar, T, Trey, and Mike G. So T, obviously, that's been in the news for a while. That's been in the news since last year. Like, how are you going to keep T Higgins? Jeremy Fowler has actually now reported that it is more likely that T Higgins stays with the Bengals and kind of maybe even takes a lesser pay than trying to go into free agency and get top dollar, just because he wants to stay with Joe Burrow. He wants to stay with Jamar. He wants to stay in that offense where he continues to get fed and be in that top tier offense. And then the heartbreaker for me personally was Trey Hendrickson. He was on the Pat McAfee show, and it's about a 30-minute long interview. And that interview was so sad to me because he basically said, like, hey, I love Cincinnati. My son was born in Cincinnati. I want more than anything for Cincinnati to win a Super Bowl, and I want to help them do that. And if me getting traded so they can get more draft picks helps them win a Super Bowl, that's what I want. He wasn't necessarily saying he wanted to be traded, though. He was just saying he wanted to help the team in the best way that he could. Now, I speak for all Bengals fans everywhere. Do not trade Trey Hendrickson. He just led the league in sacks, doing it all by himself. You have to extend Trey Hendrickson. He has earned the extension. He is the only thing that works on this defense currently. So you cannot let him walk. You cannot trade him. You need him. And he clearly wants to be in Cincinnati. He wants to help this team no matter what. Joe has said that he's willing to restructure his contract. I don't know how much that really helps. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it causes you to just kind of kick the can down the road and go into a spiral. I think you need to sit down with Joe, who's obviously taking up the most of this cap. Figure out how to spread that out more. Figure out how to make these contracts guarantee heavy. I know that Mike Brown, in terms of NFL owners, is not the most cash-rich owner, but I still think there's something you got to be able to do to make it work. Teams are making it work. You hear people say, well, you can't have the top wide receiver and the top quarterback, and you can't have all this and pay them money. The Philadelphia Eagles are paying a quarterback, 2 wide receivers top money, an O-line, and a bunch of defensive players top money. It can be done. You just have to do it carefully and methodically. And now that Eric All is apparently out for the 2025 season, I feel like you have to extend Mike Gesicki. Because you're presumably you're not bringing back Tanner Hudson. We're cutting Alex Kappa, hopefully. We're cutting Zach Moss, may even be cutting Sam Hubbard. So,
well, didn't you already say that the Bengals said that one of their big priorities was trying to re-sign Mike Gesicki, or keeping the core 4, which included Mike Gesicki?
Yeah, it's a priority, but until there's pen to paper, it's not done. It's a priority to extend T. Higgins, I'm sure.
Right.
But you've got to offer him an actual contract. And one of the biggest things that has been consistent with the Bengals is their front office does not communicate with the players. And that goes back to Andrew Whitworth. Andrew Whitworth has talked about that when he was doing deals, they didn't communicate with him. He was finding out stuff through Twitter. Trey Hendrickson said he found out from his dad, who saw a Twitter post what was going on with the extensions and stuff. It's like you got to communicate with your players. I mean, these guys are sacrificing things for you. The least you can do is like try to communicate the context in which things are going on. It seems like most of them want to work with the team, but is the team going to work with them? Right?
Right.
So, I don't want to go all in and say like, oh, the Bengals are going to re-sign this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But I don't think if it doesn't happen, it's not going to be the players' fault. It's not going to be because the players were asking for too much money. I think it's going to be because the front office didn't communicate. The front office didn't do things right. I don't care about draft picks when it comes to the Bengals because the Bengals don't draft well, in my opinion. I know, Stan, you said you thought the Bengals had like all these great draft picks. I do not think they draft well at all. Joseph Asai, we drafted him, and now he like played well whenever he played, but now his rookie contract's up, and we don't know what to do with him because Lou never played him. He played really well near the end of this season when he played, but we draft these guys and then we never use them. So it's like, what's the point of the draft picks then? Jordan Battle was the same way. It's just, I don't know. I would much rather keep those those 5 guys and keep them together and then build up in free agency. So that's just a little update. Obviously, when things become more clear, Trey Hendrickson's agent is supposed to meet with the Bengals this coming week. So hopefully we get some clarity of what's going to happen that we can actually report on and discuss more. But right now, I'm saying everything is in the hands of the Bengals front office.
When you said guarantee heavy, do you mean that for Burrow's contract or for whose contract?
I mean for all of them. I think you have to, at the very least, T and Jamar and Trey. Mike's probably doesn't have to be as guarantee heavy, but I think you have to like show the players that like, because that's just where these contracts are now. It's like we're gonna pay you even if you get hurt. And maybe for T, you're like, dude, you get hurt like every year for a few games. So maybe you're a bit more hesitant on that. But Jamar doesn't really get hurt that much. I'm not too worried about that. Trey plays through injuries all the time. So I wouldn't be too worried about guaranteeing him money.
Well, here's why I ask, because like with the non-guaranteed money, when you let the league office decide the percentage that becomes, a real cap hit, I think you could save a lot on Burrow's contract, especially if you take those guarantees and lower them, make them, performance-based. Because the league office, when they choose that, even for a good quarterback like Joe Burrow, they tend to really make it more team-friendly.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, as incentive-based would be best in terms of like cap salary, but a lot of players aren't going to go for that, Like the players want their money.
I feel like Joe Burrow is talking all this talk. He's saying he wants to help the team out. If they're going to restructure his contract, they'd have to take a lot of the guarantees and reduce that. So,
That's true.
What I would think is for T. Higgins, for him, his situation, for Trey Hendrickson, I think you should guarantee it. But for Joe Burrow, he's the head honcho there. Look at what Tom Brady did. He took money from every single year. He was making it less and less guaranteed as he got older. And they were able to get him Super Bowls so late into his career. I mean, the first half of Tom Brady's career, he wasn't having as much success until he really took those guarantees and brought them down. And that's when the Patriots saw success, and that's why Tampa Bay had success later. So what I'm thinking is, no, I would really minimize the guarantees for Burrow.
That's fair. And I don't know if he'd be open to that. I don't know if his agent would be open to that. But the fact is they got to do something to keep these guys together right now and to be able to build up this defense. And I think it can be done. It's just whether or not the Bengals are going to decide to actually move into the 21st century with these contracts.